storing his heels. And this ridge right here, that's what I do to keep the straight horn tubules from falling curved horn tubules. Okay, so Sonny has what farriers call retracted soles, but there's no such thing. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay, first we're going to look at each foot. And what I wanted you to see is how the sole really comes up here, and there's a funky looking sole ridge here. And he's got this in each one of his feet, and it's deep too. Look at my thumb. Okay, his dorsal walls from in the center are 3.5 inches. Here's his back foot that we're also restoring heels on. Ain't restored yet because we ain't got heel that's full of sole. Okay, now they would call that a retracted sole as well too. See how the sole has stuck to the wall and the toe and grown up? Now, looky there. That's because they don't know the anatomy of the sole, that the horse grows a convex ridge of sole around the perimeter of his feet that is about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch wide, like a horseshoe. And, yeah. And then it turns concave. The sole turns concave. So it goes from convex ridge of sole that grows around here to being concave right in here. So they would say, oh my, there's a retracted sole. That's not a retracted sole. That's just sole ridge that is stuck to the toe here that you have to learn to manage by scribing and removing. In fact, the sole ridge can stick to the whole foot and grow with it, whereas the sole in the center that is concave won't, and it'll exfoliate. And so then they think that the sole has sucked up into the foot, when actually it's just the sole ridge that is stuck to the wall here and grown high. See it there? Okay, so I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with that sole ridge to manage it. And the video coming up. Say hi, Mr. City. Okay. Okay. We're just going to bring this knife in here. See that? That's sole ridge. We're coming right up against the wall. And we're just going to start trimming it down. Okay. So I want it to be about the same as this here, I do believe. Okay, now we are definitely going to take this down. It is really putting a lot of pressure on his toe, but see that sole stuck to that toe like that? Helps this foot stay together. Definitely want to get the sides. Quick. Oh, you want to put your foot down? Okay, we'll let you. You're a good boy. Okay, give it here. Good boy. Good boy. Okay, we're just going to trim up them bars. If you can't get a big chunk, just get teeny tiny chunks. we go. See how I got that? That's a start. So, you know, unless you know exactly how close you're getting everything like that, you might just do that much and then come in with your nippers and your rasp. Because you can come back another day and take more if need be. Okay? There we go. I am going to take a little bit more in this toe. I also don't like sharp edges, so I'm not carving the sole out, but I'm just rounding off the sharp edge here. Make sure you do that, because that'll tell you how much more you're doing too. Okay, now I'm going to let him rest his foot, and then I'm going to cut it off, and I'll be back. Okay, I want to point out some things because I don't want you, this horse, I've been restoring his heels for a while. He hadn't been trimmed in 6 or 7 weeks. He had quite a bit of sole. And you need to be able to tell the difference between a horse that has sole and one that doesn't. Your horse, especially if he doesn't have any heels, may not have much sole at all. Also, your walls could be flared. If that is the case, then the sole is stretched out and the sole is very thin. One way you can tell if you have any sole at all is how deep the apex of the frog is. Now, if you look at this picture, you can see where I have scribed and or rasped the sole ridge, the convex sole ridge, flat. As you cut it down or rasp it down, it gets wider. Okay, it shouldn't be any wider than what you see here on a good foot. And then you see where the underside of the coffin bone goes concave. It goes from the convex sole ridge to the concave underside of the coffin bone. And look, you can see the perfect outline of the coffin bone in the bottom of the sole there. So you want to be really careful and be able to determine how much sole your horse has. But you have to learn this and you have to manage it properly in order to get a correct foot. It takes some work. If you cut too close, you get close to the sulcurium. You don't want to do that. So you learn to read the foot. And this is something you're going to have to do. You're going to have to be brave. You're going to have to learn how to manage this sole. Sometimes you will have the sole that has grown into the wall like this. That they call retracted. But again, it's not retracted. They think the sole sucked up into the coffin bone when in reality the wall just grew and the sole was attached to the wall and it grew with it. Okay. Okay, the red you see right there is a pin, not blood, just so you know. Okay, now I'm just going to come straight back across the whole front here. I could use nippers to make it quicker. I'm going to make it actually square-toed by the time I get back to the wet line. And I come clear over, see? There, let's just kind of clean this up a little bit so you can see what's going on. Get the sole clean. Okay, see the sole there?
Okay, this is the ultimate object of the anatomically correct trim. Right here, what you see is the wall. You see how thick the wall can get? Okay, when the foot is correct, and the white line and the sole all compose what would be the shoe of the horse, the sole ridge. One, two, three. All three make up the natural shoe of the horse. This is what you're trying to manage. This is what you're trying to develop. This is what wild horses have. Okay, and plus heels, plus a frog stay, uh, and all this makes up that foot of the horse. That's what you're trying to build. That's why you have to learn to manage the sole. You can't let it get, once you really start getting sole, I mean, it's going to really grow. Once those heels come in, once your frog gets good, once that hoof wall becomes more compact and together and thick. You can see how thick this is just a little quarter horse. He's about not even quite 15 hands. He's got small feet. He probably wears double aughts. Okay, you can see how wide his hoof wall is. Okay, and then you see the hoof wall with the sole ridge, convex sole ridge next to it. You see that comprises the shoe of the horse, and then this area where you see the coffin bone, the underside of the coffin bone, when all the sole in the sole ridge and the walls get correct, then that also will fill in with sole, and half the time it's not even going to look concave. Okay? All right. So this is what you're trying to build on your horse. And so you have to learn when you have sole, when you don't, how much you can take in this trim, the corrective trimming to restore the foot. You don't want to take a whole bunch of sole and make it look like this when you haven't got it. See, then you'd be too close to the sole corium of the foot. So you have to learn the difference. Okay, so probably if you're watching this video, you have already understand the anatomy of the sole, what I teach about the true anatomy of the sole. So this is something you're going to want to study, how the sole grows around the rim of the foot, how there is a convex ridge of sole. This is not known inferiorly. This is why they make an incorrect interpretation, because they have no idea what a sole ridge is, because they've been cutting it out for centuries. Okay, but that is what we are developing. So you want to stop and read this and find out more information about it.
You want to put your foot down for a second? If you do your toes like this, every time your pillars will start coming back. If you don't, your pillars will get long. Okay, so this pillar over here I can tell is long because the wall was way thicker, so I know pillars grown up there. Okay, see how I hit that? Just come right into the sole a tad, right on that toe. Okay, now I'm going to come around over here. Now I'm not taking it back to the white line here. I'm just taking the darker, harder tubules back. I'm leaving the wall a little higher from here to here in the heels. He's really got some thick hoof walls. You see where the white line is? Right there? Now he'll roll over. There's just kind of a roll over here from the sole to the white line to the wall. A roll, like the foot would just roll over right here. About this wide, the rollover. Okay, and then there's no leverage here in the pillars. There we go. That's kind of what it looks like. Okay, then you want to make sure you take all your sharp edges off. Now this horse has very, right now, very weak frogs. In fact, you can see the hue of the corium below them. So now, if I was to trim these frogs real good and then take the heels down to a sick, weak frog, what's that going to do? That's just going to put all the horn tubules at a way lower angle going forward, and it's going to trim sole out of the heel. But this is exactly what they're doing. Okay, so the first thing we do is we build up the heels, anatomically correct, and then we work with the frog to get it more healthy. And it will get more healthy as time goes by here. His heels are just really starting to kind of come in, and the toe coming back, sole getting thicker. So we definitely wouldn't want to take that down like that. So on this back foot, I have scribed the sole out. See, that's all that is sole that is attached to the wall and grown with the wall. There's no such thing as retracted sole. You know, see, you can see the sole ridge there. So, okay, see how deep that is there? That sole had just attached to the wall and grown up like that. Okay. Okay, come on. Come on. Of course, it's nice and soft. You see, he's got a nice walk. Now this guy too.